Bristol is an ancient city with a long and dark history stretching far back into the misty past, once being home to some of the most ruthless pirates in the world and a renowned epicenter of the barbaric slave trade. The pirates and slave masters of old have long since left its ports and taverns, yet still, something more sinister remains hidden in the halls of power. And the very name of the city itself. A key figure to current world events in general is that of Martin Luther, the German priest, author and professor who rejected the teachings and indulgences of the Roman Catholic Church and is said to have brought about the Protestant Reformation, where various Christian groups sought to separate themselves from the practices of Catholicism. The Protestant Reformation was said to have been sparked by the 95 Theses, a document containing 95 statements, written by Martin Luther himself, detailing his opinions about the practices of the Roman Catholic Church. It's said that the 95 statements were posted to the bishop and pinned to the doors of various churches on the night of October 31st, the day we know as Halloween. The Catholic Church did not take kindly to this. In response to the 95 Theses, they launched a counter-reformation spearheaded by the new order of the Church, known as the Society of Jesus, or Jesuits, the military arm of the Catholic Church. Although they are called the Society of Jesus, their practices are far from godly. The Jesuit order has been banned in numerous countries, dating as far back as the year 1759, and as recently as 2023, when the Nicaraguan government outlawed their practices, branding them terrorists. One example of their dark dealings is the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the black civil rights activist and political philosopher who took his name after the German priest and author of the 95 Theses. And was assassinated on the 95th day of the year. As we move forward, remember this. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses, and the number 95 is their calling card, which brings us to the topic of today's investigation, the city of Bristol. Bristol has long been a stronghold of the Jesuits, aka Society of Jesus. Their own archives describe it as an ancient mission of utmost importance to the order. No one knows for sure where the spelling of the name Bristol originated, but what we do know is that the modern alphabet wasn't standardized until the 16th century, around the same time as our calendar, which is named after Catholic Pope Gregory. One of the most divisive figures in the city of Bristol's history is that of Conservative MP and slave trader Edward Colston, said to have played a role in the deaths of countless thousands of slaves during the brutal era of the African slave trade. Although hailed as hero and father of the city by a small minority for his charitable donations, there was a public outcry for the removal of the statue from a prominent area of the city, which had been largely ignored by the authorities for years. However, in the wake of the televised murder of George Floyd, public unrest reached boiling point, and on the day of June 7th, an angry mob seemingly removed the statue by force, in an incident that caused shockwaves around the world and started a trend worldwide. Out of a crowd of 10,000 people, only 4 were singled out for prosecution for the toppling of the statue. They became known as the Colston Four. The young activists almost became folk heroes overnight, with documentaries and front-page headlines and worldwide interest in the court case. But was the entire incident staged? There is a simple alphanumeric system behind the English language, where each letter has a corresponding number, 1 through 26. There is also a reverse code where the letter Z becomes number 1, and so on. Writing the words the Colston Four, and Society of Jesus are an identical match in both systems. Jesuits are the hidden hand that pulls the strings, and Bristol is their stronghold. The mayor of the city of Bristol at that time was a man named Marvin Rees, a local man from humble beginnings, who clawed his way up the political ladder to become widely recognized as, and I quote, the first black mayor of African descent to be directly elected in Europe. Remember, the German priest Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses to oppose the power of the Catholic Church, which he posted to the bishop on the night of Halloween. Marvin Rees was mayor of Bristol for 2 terms, during which he is reported to have secured £95 million of investment for the city. He was re-elected for his 2nd term as mayor. On the 9th of May, the date written 9/5. He enjoyed a long 8 years as mayor of Bristol. Towards the end of his 2nd term as mayor, the local press announced that he would be writing his memoirs with the working title of My City. And he had plenty to write about. He had a long and eventful reign as mayor. Shortly before his 2nd term, he suffered a personal tragedy, the loss of a brother. The name of his brother was Martin Luther. A story paying tribute to Martin was posted in local papers on the 9th of May. The date written 9/5. A mural was painted to honor his memory, which was later defaced. Remember, the original Martin Luther released his 95 Theses on the night of Halloween. The ritual desecration of Martin Luther in the Jesuit stronghold of Bristol.